Check one, check two. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are watching in the world. This is your week 9 recap and week 10 kickoff. And yeah, if I sound kind of sick, it's because I'm a little bit sick and dying this weekend, but we'll power through just for y'all. All right, so week 9 and week 10, this is our capstone weeks. Remember, the capstone is a series of incremental notebooks and projects designed to kind of give you a wider scope of a real world business problem. So, in our capstone project for this course, let me pull up the first scenario here. Our goal is to try and predict whether or not the landing stage of a SpaceX launch will land successfully. Know that this is a classification problem. We're predicting the probability that a stage will land. If you read the scenario, there's some discussion about trying to predict cost. This would be a regression problem if we were going to go that route where we would predict the exact total dollar amount or yeah, US dollar amount here of the launch, but that is not what we're doing. Instead, we are predicting the probability that the first stage will land successfully. So in week 9 here, your goal is the data engineering aspect of this, the ETL. We want to extract data from a couple different vendors and data sources. We then want to transform and clean it up and then load it into databases, clean CSVs, where we can then do exploratory data analysis or EDA, as well as do some basic feature engineering and pre-processing to get ready for modeling. So as you work through the Module 9 notebooks, there are one, two, three, four of them. They're not too bad. Again, they're mostly revolving around extracting data from our first data vendor, our first data source, which is the SpaceX API, and then also extracting data from our second source, which is going to be web scraping Wikipedia. So there's not too much to dive into there. We worked through these notebooks during our live session, which of course you can find on our GitHub. Let me actually pull up Module 9 here in the live session. So during the live session, it looked like we walked through the data collection piece from the API and the web scraping, and then our EDA piece. We walked through some of the SQL queries that you need to be able to write as well. So if any difficulties, just run through my GitHub, and hopefully those will answer your questions. Let's see. This is supposed to be reminiscent of real world data sets. This is a real world data set, and many data vendors you'll have in the real world are going to be from APIs or markup language, XML, HTML sources. Let's see. I don't think there's too much to call out here. I linked the documentation for the SpaceX API, and then for the web scraping, the robot policy, as we need to add in a user agent to our request. After we have acquired our data both from the JSON API and from HTML from the web, we are then going to do some imputation and data cleaning. In this case, we like filled in using like averages and things, some of the missing data fields. And then we loaded all the data into a database where we practice writing our SQL queries. One thing to note, yeah, I forgot about this one. If you're running the notebooks inside of the lab session, let me pull it up here. You'll need to run this command. Where are you? Right here. Config SQL magic.style deprecated default. This will allow the results of the SQL queries to be rendered correctly inside the Jupyter notebook. And again, this is mostly just because it's a little bit of an older library that's being used here. If you run this in Google Colab or in your local machine, you'll likely not need this SQL Magic style option. But again, in the Jupyter Lab notebooks linked to the course, you will need this command. And again, I think we went over this in week 4, according to Karen, helped me out, and they called out that we did this earlier in the cohort. So that's how I would recommend doing it. Again, you can always look back at the SQL week to confirm. Cool. We also then walked through how to set up GitHub for the capstone. So this is important. If you watch anything of the last lecture, watch the last 10 to 15 minutes. For the capstone project, you will be expected to upload your notebooks from week 9 and week 10, as well as your slide deck and optional written report to a GitHub repository, and then you will submit that repository link as the submission for your project. And again, remember, Karen and I will be grading the capstones. So it's not too bad. Again, you need to go on to GitHub. Hopefully, you already have an account. Create a new repository. The one that I created was just called, whoops, was just called IBM Capstone project down here. And you'll see, I recommend actually creating the folders and file structure on your local machine and however you want to upload it. So on my local, if you watch the recording, you'll see that on my local machine, I created these folders with all the notebooks and stuff in it. And then if you go to add file, upload files, you should be able to drag and drop the folder from your computer. So for example, if I wanted to drop in like 10.1 or something, I'm not actually going to commit it, but you'll see this will actually create the folder 10.1 and then whatever. So I recommend formatting and structuring your repository on your local machine first, and then this will work for Mac or Windows, and then drag those files up to add them manually. As an exercise for the reader, if you want to go beyond this, Karen and I have some written posts in the forum threads that go over how to actually connect Git through terminal and use terminal commands such as like these ones, right? To be able to upload and push or commit and push to your cloud repository. But technically, that is not required for this capstone. Cool. I also linked the machine learning explainability extra credit on Kaggle as I thought it was super useful as we start diving into things like feature importances and trying to explain why models are generating their inference. So yeah, big idea for this week. We're started doing the first half of the capstone project. Extract your data from your API and web. Then you're going to clean and wrangle that data, transform that data, load it into SQL, and then perform some basic EDA, as well as set up your GitHub repository. Looking ahead to week 10 is going to be the second half of the capstone. In week 10, we're going to be building models and visualizations off of this. So now that we have our data ready, we've done the first half of the data pipeline. Second half of the data pipeline, let's make some interactive visualizations and reports, aka our business analytics, right? Our final data consumption through dashboards, as well as our models, which again is a secondary data product as well. We talked about both creating visualizations and reports, as well as creating models as data products as throughout this boot camp. So yeah, in 10.1, you're going to be creating visualizations. You're going to be using Folium and Jupyter Notebooks, and you'll be creating a Dash app as well. This should all be very reminiscent of week, was it 5? I can't remember. Week 5 or 6. I think it was maybe week 6. Oh yeah, it's definitely week 6. That's when we had all yeah. So 10.1 is going to be very reminiscent of week 6, where again you created interactive visualizations and Plotly Dash dashboards as well. So if you have any trouble with the week with 10.1, that's where you can check. And then in 10.2, you're going to be creating the actual machine learning model. So there's going to be an end-to-end machine learning demo where you will be taking the data that you've already cleaned and pre-processed, and you're going to be experimenting with a whole bunch of different models, such as logistic regression, KNN, decision tree. You're going to be fitting a grid search, cross-validation, and you're going to be trying to optimize which is as well as performing a grid search with cross-validation. And you're trying to pick which is the best model for the job. Once you work through this, I highly recommend also adding in Random Forest and XGBoost. And if all goes well, I think you should see that XGBoost performs the best, maybe. I think it does perform the best, but since we only have such a small test sample, it's like not a fully validated. A couple things to point out on the machine learning section. One of the parameters for the decision tree for the grid search has been deprecated. So I can find where it is. Again, there's a forum post about this, so please check the lounge for week 10. Yeah, here we go. So for the decision tree, you're gonna see that the max features parameter auto doesn't work anymore. So you can use squirt, or I think another one is none. And again, if we actually go to the documentation, if I can find it. Decision tree. I don't want that documentation. Classifier. Hmm. Boom. That'll actually tell you. So what the parameter that we're going to be trying to change is max features. And if we scroll down to it, you'll see that we could do squirt or log2 or none. Again, in the newer version of sklearn, they removed the auto option there. So yeah, and I think Karen said to just replace auto with log2, which I think I'll probably show in the live session on Monday. Let's see. I think that's the only thing to watch out for in 10.2. And then that leads us to the last part of the capstone, which is synthesizing everything together into a report. As you start looking down at some of these other media sets here, they walk you through how to use like Microsoft Office and things like that to be able to like create your PowerPoint deck. That's fine. I don't care if you use PowerPoint, if you use PowerPoint in Microsoft Office. But if you don't have Microsoft Office, you're not expected to buy or purchase anything for this. So I think Karen listed. Let me find where they posted. Let me pull it up here. We have so many tabs. If you check in the lounge, there's lots of good information here. So yeah, for example, how to use bar charts instead of some of the scatter plots they want in the dash. Again, we walk through all the deprecated parameters. And if you go all the way to the bottom, again, I'll walk through how you can, they walk through, you can use Open Office, which is a free Office type. I don't think you need to overcomplicate it nearly that much. If you don't have Microsoft Office or don't want to use PowerPoint, like that's totally fine. I would just recommend using Google Slides. In fact, that's what I do. I don't pay for Microsoft Office, so I have I put the PowerPoint into my drive and then open it up as a Google slide deck. And this is basically what you just need to fill out for your like executive deliverable here. A couple things I want to call out on the PowerPoint deck. First, it should be pretty self-explanatory. Like these slides are going to line up almost like one to one with exactly how you work through the notebooks. But the first on the data collection side from our data vendors, there's a couple like interesting slides that discuss like a flow chart. You don't have to create flowcharts. So you do not have to create a flowchart. All that we need here is just like a list of the different APIs, endpoints that you use, or you could honestly just take a screenshot of the SpaceX API documentation. And then for the web scraping, same thing. I don't need a flowchart. All we need is like a screenshot of the web page or a table of the web page that like references what did you scrape here, right? So nothing too major. Um, but yeah, I had a couple of questions about what the heck we need to make a flowchart. Short answer is no. Just visualize, show me what is the raw source, right? What is your API source? What is your web scraping source? And then all the rest of this is pretty self-explanatory, like I said. Then you do EDA, then you do 10.1, and then you do 10.2, and you build the model. Copy over some of the images from your EDA. And the result. These are going to be the results of your SQL queries and stuff. This is going to be your screenshots from 10.1. This will be your screenshots from the second half of 10.1, and then this will be screenshots from 10.2, and then that ends the deck. So again, it shouldn't take you too long once you get through all the notebooks. It's mostly just taking your visualizations and shoving them into a slide deck. A couple things I want to just add on to this though. First, um, I think this was posted in the week 9 lounge. I'm all over the place here. Let's see, this is the week 9 live session. To save images, sure, you could just take a screenshot of it from your notebook. But if they're matplotlib images, like they are in the first EDA couple notebooks, you can actually save those off as you can where are we? You can save those off as like images. So we walked through in one of our posts here how you can save the fig plit.save plot or I guess matplotlib plit.save fig with the name of the image, and then the image will appear, and then you can download it from the website. You can do the same thing with the Folium maps. I think I called out again in the module 10 lounge again. Just read through the lounges if you haven't already. If you read through the module 10 lounge, let's see, blah blah blah. Where did I go? Yeah. For the Folium maps, because they generate like HTML, again, it's like an interactive map, so it needs to run through a web browser. You can save the Folium maps off as well using map.save and then specify the name of the map in the .html. Those can then be downloaded as well. And again, I recommend including all these visualizations, HTML files, whatever, in your GitHub repository. You can have as many like sub-nested folders as you want to fully organize your repository with all the information that you need. And again, I'll walk through some of this too in the live session on Monday. So again, once you've downloaded all these images, you have everything, you're just going to copy them into the deck and then clean up the deck to make sure it flows well, and then you should be good. I've also said a couple times that I optionally also hope that you include a written write-up with your submission. So this can be in the form of a PDF file or a README, or if you're hardcore, both. You can include a README file in the repo as like a quick executive summary, and then a more full analytics oriented white paper write up as a PDF. Essentially, all that you need to do is take your completed slide deck, and if you have speaker notes or things to it, and then just literally dump it into a written format. It doesn't have to be too posh or too organized, but it should be a quick like breakdown of what you did for this capstone. Again, just walk through your data sources, how you extracted, transformed, and loaded your data from the raw vendors, what you saw in your SQL queries and your EDA, and then what you built as a business analytics oriented dashboard, and what you discovered as you built out your machine learning models, and then any final conclusions based off of all that information. But yeah, basically translate the deck into a write-up, and sure, you can probably use AI to help you do that. And I'm not gonna stop you from doing that either. Cool. During our last live session on Monday, I will be running through a couple of the Folium visualization notebooks and Dash dashboard, as well as the machine learning notebook. And then I think that should be it. In terms of timeline for everything, um, we are down to our last week of the class, and I have confirmed that our last day to get grades in is going to be the second half of next week, the 17th and 19th. So technically, you have to have everything submitted by the 17th, and that gives us 48 hours to get grades like ready and confirmed and posted. They technically want Karen and I to post grades on the 17th, but we can do it on the 18th. It's not the end of the world. But basically, you have until middle of next week to lock everything done, which gives you an extra week. Because technically, week 10 like ends on the 10th, but it's really gonna end like the end of next week. So you have all of next weekend as well to get your GitHub and report and slide deck in order, and then hopefully grades will be submitted on the 17th, and then grades will be finalized on the 19th, and then we are done. Karen and I's last day in the forum is on the 19th. So we have about 2 more weeks where you can reach out to us on the forums, and we'll be managing kind of posts and things to that nature as well. Again, friendly reminder, if there's one discussion forum for week 10, please go ahead and do it. It's not that hard. And then if you want to go back, I see some students going back and like catching up with discussion forums from week 4, 5, 6, 7. Great. This is the time to do it. There's only one discussion post in week 9, only one in like week 8. So this shouldn't take you too long. And I think it'll really help you kind of frame the final capstone project and portfolio to you. All right. Long story short, week 9 was all about data extraction and your exploratory data analysis of the raw SpaceX data. Week 10 is all about taking that cleaned and processed data and making business-ready data products such as interactive dashboards as well as machine learning models. As your final submission, you'll need to synthesize a slide deck either in Google Slides or in PowerPoint. You'll need to download your final slides as a PowerPoint or a PDF or both. I also highly recommend optionally including an analytics write-up either as a README or as another PDF or both. Um, Upload all the notebooks from week 9 and 10 into your own personal GitHub repository as well. And as you submit the project, you will need to submit the link to your GitHub repository, which should work. Again, if you have issues submitting, then let me know. But again, we have about 2 weeks to sort that out. And then finally, on timelines, you have grades for the capstone are supposed to be submitted by me on the 17th. Grades will be finalized and posted back to you by the 19th. And our last days in the forum are the 19th. So the sooner you get everything done, the better. But it is expected to have everything resolved before the holidays. There is no live session on the 15th, but I was told that optionally I could have one as like an open office hours if there was interest. So again, I'll reiterate that on our live session on the 8th. And I think we should be good. So yeah, you've got one more week here to clean up the week 10 materials and then an extra few days to synthesize the week 9 and week 10 content into your final capstone submission. You got this. I believe in you. Y'all are doing a great job so far. I'm loving the engagement in the forums and the past discussion posts as well. So just keep thinking critically, keep moving forward here, and you're almost at the end of the line. Hopefully, this has been helpful and you've learned something over the last 10 weeks. It has been a pleasure running through this with you. I'll do one more recap video at the end of week 10. So, like a week 10 recap, and then again, a reminder of how to submit everything, and expect that next weekend. All right, I'll see everybody in our next live session on Monday, December 8th, and I'll see you in the forums otherwise. Thanks, everybody.